for joining us today. I often say this, it's really the truth. We'll be glad you took the time to attend today because Dr. Veronica Hardy has so much wonderful material to share with you. And she is such a popular presenter for us at the Center for Financial Social Work. Before I turn this over to her, we'll get started with some important reminders. There is no CEU, just wonderful material you'll be learning. You will get the recording on Monday, and the presentation deck isn't shared. If you have any technical problems, go to financialsocialwork.com and click on chat, and Eric will be able to help you with that. You want to stay tuned throughout the presentation because we do have some special discounts for our attendees today. This is our team. I'm Rita Wolfson. Linda Benjamin is our relationship manager, and she'll be chiming in also. And Eric is our webmaster and all things technical support. What a great team. Good looking too. And Dr. Veronica Hardy. She's one special, very smart lady. You're going to enjoy listening to her shortly. I just have this because I do believe there is no career more professional than social work, and imagine most of you feel the same way. I always begin with our financial social work affirmation. It goes just for today. I will love myself enough to face my fears, practice self-acceptance, and embrace hope. Silence my inner critic, speak my truth, and make peace with myself and with my past. Just for today, I will give myself permission to eliminate toxic people, beliefs, and behaviors from my life and prepare for a better tomorrow by healing my relationship with my money and with myself today. We always like to fit in some audience participation and discussion. So our picture for discussion today, you can see it. I thought we should have a conversation on how we are handling clients' money shame, whether they're talking about it, whether we're observing it. Please put your responses. We usually have a really wonderfully active discussion here, and Linda shares with us what everyone's been writing.
So Rita, are you asking folks to put in the question box what they're doing to help clients with their money shame?
Yes.
Okay. Find the question box, people. Tell us what you are doing to help clients.
Money shame is so real and it causes so many problems.
Okay. Helping them take the hammer out of their hand. That's a good one.
I love it. Wow.
First, remove the stigma. Then help them take the hammer out of their hand. I am creating empowered money programs for community individuals that separate their emotions from the movement of money.
Great, great, great.
Let's see. Oops. I try to show no judgment. I try to show no judgment. When the client shares their struggles, I offer resources.
Very good. Problem is we've been offering
Let-
resources for a long time, and the distance from the referral to the follow-up is so huge.
I let them know they are not alone with having these feelings and problems.
Good.
And I listen without judgment and acknowledgement. Say you are not starting over, you're starting wiser. Listening without judgment.
Look at these wonderful people we have with us today.
Help them understand and adjust their mindset about money.
Mindset for sure.
And this person works with international students. So for me, it's about learning the basics and trying to empower them with resources.
And don't bring their financial problems to sessions. We really have to be watching for them. They don't have the language, so we have to help them there. Okay, then let's keep going. Thanks, everybody. That was great. A lot of good responses. I just have to get this going. Okay, there we go. What is financial social work? Some of you are new. We had great registration. So let's go through this quickly. What is financial social? Well, you will find it at the intersection of social work, politics, very political, as we all know at this moment in time, maybe more so than ever before. Certainly the economy, gender, racial, social, economic, and other able justice, definitely mental health and financial inequity. Financial social work is helping individuals achieve financial stability and well-being. It's a holistic approach that focuses on behavioral change, personalized and client-centered support. It is trauma-informed and emotionally supportive, and it's very, very, very heavily psychosocial. And it is that psychosocial component that makes it so unique and so important. Financial social work addresses systemic and structural barriers, provides long-term support and advocacy. We serve vulnerable populations better, but we serve all populations. 75% of Americans today are living paycheck to paycheck. Most people are financially vulnerable in many different ways today. We encourage self-sufficiency and provide the skills and tools and knowledge to empower clients to take control of their money and gain control of their lives. Of course, we do crisis intervention and immediate support. But as you can see, financial social work is very comprehensive, and there aren't any populations that I can think of that couldn't use this help. Anybody want to share any other populations we might be missing? We have to watch again for the symptoms. It may be insomnia, depression, self-medicating, trauma, anger. Those can be the symptoms. But what are the causes? What are the financial pieces behind it that clients may very well not be familiar with? Now we're going to talk about just for a minute or two, the financial social work lens, because it's important to understand what's so unique about this work. So you can see that the lens looks at the emotional as well as the financial components. It's a lens to lasting change with mental health, behavioral change, money narratives, equity, empowerment, and trauma informed. What do we see depending on our lens? There are internal factors and external factors. Internally, with the financial social work lens, we recognize emotions and we honor lived experience. We respect it and learn from it. External factors, we consider relationships very important part of our financial lives, and we name systems. With the traditional approach, we see money as neutral numbers, but money is never neutral. We may think, someone said in the discussion board a few minutes ago about not judging. When people are afraid or they feel judged because they made poor choices, but they didn't know better. And traditionally, we teach skills or make plans and budgets. But with the FSW lens approach, money, meaningful and emotional, it's adaptive responses to the experience and the context. We promote dignity and healing. A financial social work lens views financial challenges as human experiences shaped by emotions, relationships, lived experience, and systems. It's not just about numbers or knowledge. Already know, this is our training. We already know how to do motivational interviewing. How does that apply to money? That's how we explore ambivalence about spending, debt, and savings. We have the trauma-informed care component, and we can use that for understanding some of the problems that arise. Then we have systems theory, and when we help clients name some of the issues preventing them from doing better, they grasp something beyond self-blame. We can do clinical assessment to identify emotional and relational money patterns. And of course, ethically, it's so important that we support choice without advising financial social workers. Do not give financial advice or investing advice. So as social workers, we have the skills to support change, and financial social work simply shows you how to apply those skills to clients' money challenges. So a simple truth is that no one chooses to have money problems, but most people do. And we as social workers have been doing the research, but we have not been providing students and practitioners with the tools, the skills, the confidence, or the competence to be agents of financial change on a micro, meso, or macro level. And that's what financial social work has changed. It's a holistic method that goes beyond crisis intervention to foster lasting change. Because as a profession and as clinicians, And on every level of our profession, we do need to address the money, mental, physical, emotional, and social connections in clients' lives because they're so real. A staggering number of men and women are just unable to meet the financial expectations placed on all of us today. They have more money, more debt than assets, more financial problems than solutions. They need a financial social worker. They need a safe, non-judgmental space where they can learn and talk about money. And that's my story about financial social work. And I am very excited now to turn this over to Dr. Veronica Hardy so she can do her training.
And hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this part 2 of our series. The initial part took place last month during the month of January, and I know that several of you are returning today to be able to gain insight in regards to this part 2 that is called Financially Prepared on Purpose. So I welcome you to this session. I'm glad that you are here. And our intention for this session is to go deeper and building upon what we learned from last month. So we really want this session to be even more grounded and more empowering for you. So if you think back to January, we focused on building a money compass and using that compass to kind of navigate what we may refer to as unpredictable times. So today we are focusing on choosing direction and intention. Last month was about navigating. This month is about direction with intention. So we're going to continue exploring how our values, identity, and purpose can shape and influence our financial decisions, even when those unpredictable times tends to come up. So as we go through this material today, I just invite you to kind of notice what resonates with you, what really speaks to you, what challenges you, and what are those components of your financial identity. And just as we begin, something that we do with our students at Wingate University, you'll also hear that said as Wingate University as well. We really stress to our students to use AI disclosures in their work. So I thought I would want to model that behavior as well throughout this webinar. So I use the support of Copilot to help clean some things up for me and make it succinct. And I asked Copilot to give itself a name. And the name that Copilot came up with was Professor Purpose. So you will see Professor Purpose's picture show up throughout this webinar today. AI Copilot also generated this image as well. And there's a little quote at the bottom of this slide that says, "Human insight supported by thoughtful technology," and really practicing these appropriate methods of AI use in the type of work that we do. As we begin, just like we shared last month, and Rita really helped to highlight this last month as well, is that the content for this series was really influenced by a book I developed called Prepared on Purpose, really helping us to build this future-oriented thinking, not just in relation to our finances, but our overall well-being. So I thought I'd begin with this quote from the book that says, "Diligence in preparation reflects a heart posture of stewardship and trust. Diligence keeps moving forward and is strategic. Remember, small steps compound over time. Over time, they create a foundation that is strong and resilient. And I want you to keep in mind that each step matters and makes a difference." The closing part of this quote says, "This webinar invites you to embrace the journey of preparation, knowing that faithfulness in the little things leads to great security across the long term. So if you wanted to have access to this book or other books I have written, I have included this QR code on this slide, and you'll also be able to find it on the last slide of this webinar as well. All right, our objectives for today, which you will also find on the Center for Financial Social Work website. If I were to sum these objectives up, it's to build upon our learning from our previous session, which focused on coping during uncertain financial times, building a money compass. Today is about how do we put some of those intentions into action and shift our identity, our financial identity, to be in alignment with what our hopes are, what our vision is pertaining to our finances. Now, just reflecting on our previous webinar called Coping with Uncertain Financial Times, and then comparing it or connecting it to our webinar today called Financially Prepared on Purpose, let's think about in part one, our focus was on coping and understanding how some of those unpredictable events, such as policy changes, shifts in our job opportunities, how our healthcare options might change, how all of these things can impact our financial well-being. And then during that webinar, we focused on how to kind of build some structures or ways of being and thinking that would help us cope or build resistance. Now, in part two, this Financially Prepared on Purpose, our intention is to really transition from coping to taking action and creating. So when we think of coping, coping tends to ask us this question of how do I protect myself right now? How should I respond to this situation in this moment so I can make it through? If you think of creating, that might ask the question of who am I becoming financially? And what would that version of me choose? Let's say that again. Who am I becoming financially? And what would that version of me choose? Okay. So thinking of coping as something that really helps to support us or stabilize us in that moment. And then thinking of creating as having this purpose that kind of propels us into action. Right. So at this point, in reflecting on coping with uncertain times, there were a few questions that came at the end of the webinar, and I made a few promises. There was a question about, did I have a values list that many of you would be able to share with your clients? And I said I would have it ready by this next session. Another question that came forth was, is there some type of handout that could be used with clients? And I said I would have that ready by this session too. So I kept that promise. So we do have that for you. There are two ways to possibly receive it. Some of you, and this is depending on the device that you have logged in on, may have a handouts option on your screen. And again, you will only see that based on the device because it might show up differently based on the device. If you do not see it there, no worries. On Monday, the webinar recording will be going out, and that handout will be going out with the recording. So either way, you will be able to receive those handouts, okay, in relation to coping with uncertain financial times and that whole aspect of the money compass. So kind of building on connecting parts 1 and 2, you're going to see these little mini case examples that I've included throughout the presentation today. And these are just to give you more so visuals or ideas of what these concepts mean or what they might look like. So coping, we have a woman who grew up in a financially unstable environment, becomes hyper vigilant about saving. This coping strategy, which is that hypervigilance around saving, helps to protect her, yes, but it can keep her from actually pursuing opportunities that are in alignment with her long-term purpose, right? So she realized she has mastered survival, she has that skill, but the growth that she hopes to have, that's been blocked. Okay, so that's what coping can look like. Now let's think about what creating could look like. Let's say you have a client, this client has stable income, wonderful budgeting skills, but still feels stuck. You sit with your client, you start to engage in this values exploration. What are their values? How do they want their values to be lived out or influence their finances? You tend to uncover from the client sharing their story that their financial choices have been guided by fear rather than purpose and values. Once you start exploring with them about their core values, planning starts to come more proactive and intentional rather than reactive. Okay. So our intention is to transition from the coping to the creating phase of that financial health. Okay. So that leads us to our very first poll question, where we're going to kind of look at what is your current financial planning mindset? And just your response to this particular question is really going to help us see how you're entering this conversation. So is it A, I'm primarily stability oriented, B, I'm growth oriented, C, I'm purpose oriented, D, I vacillate depending on the circumstance, so I'm going with the flow, or E, I'm in transition toward a more intentional model. So where do you tend to fall? All right, so we're going to wait a few more seconds. I see several responses are coming in. Okay, so let's see what we have. All right, so I see 23% stability oriented, wonderful. I see 35% got the most responses, growth oriented. Only 8% purpose oriented, okay? And that's part of this focus of today as well, integrating purpose. 23%, I vacillate, depending on circumstances. And then 12%, I'm in transition. All right, so creating space in your life to be able to grow and to do things in what we may perceive as a different manner. Thank you, everyone, for participating in that poll. Okay. So to kind of anchor our conversation today, we're going to look through a certain type of lens. And that lens is going to be purpose. So oftentimes we hear that purpose, that word purpose, from this inspirational perspective. But today I want to use it a little bit differently. I want us to think of purpose as like this psychological anchor, or this guiding force when it comes to our financial identity. So let's think about kind of what this means. Just to give an example, when an unexpected circumstance arises, something that we're not sure about how to navigate, just a natural human response is for our brain to just shift, right? To shift into these threat response patterns that many of us have learned throughout our social work courses. And part of that threat response pattern is our focus narrows, because we're going to focus in on that presenting issue or challenge or problem that's right in front of us. Our time span or our view tends to shorten as well. We're focused on the short term, this issue right now, but we may not be focusing on the long term effects. And then it may decrease our awareness of, well, these are some other decisions I could make or opportunities that are around us. Instead, we're going to focus on kind of what's at hand. What can I get my hands on right now? Okay. So, like I said, these responses are normal, they're just human, but what they do is they lead us to have reactive financial decisions. So, we are in this reaction mode. From a purpose perspective, purpose can help to disrupt that pattern, that threat response pattern that I just mentioned. It helps to expand our thinking, to think more long term, beyond that short term perspective. It helps to clarify why we're making this decision that we're making in this moment. And it takes us from reacting to actually being intentional and processing, right? And there's much research out there about behavioral economics. Sometimes when you look it up, it'll be called neuroeconomics. I'll give you that as a homework assignment to look up what neuroeconomics means, okay? And I wonder if you knew that existed, that's an area of study that exists. But in regards to these forms of behavioral economics and studies, it shows that when we tend to connect our choices to something that has purpose to us or value to us, that we can experience a reduced cognitive load, meaning we're not so worried about it or emotionally consumed in regards to it. It helps us to improve our own self-regulation. The case I provided earlier was the person became hypervigilant about saving, right? So again, really working to self-regulate our nervous systems. It helps us to respond to stress better. It increases our ability to follow through on our goals. So again, I really want us to expand our understanding about what purpose can mean in our lives and what it can mean in relation to our financial health. That is not just something we use for inspiration, but it's something that can actually be psychological or neurological for us. And it helps us to keep our minds from being hijacked, for lack of better words, by these unexpected circumstances that may come up in our lives. And then just a brief case to help really capture that. Just imagine, and many of us in this space are social workers and may have experienced senses of burnout. So a lot of this person's decisions were driven by exhaustion, just being completely exhausted. So what can I do? I don't have time to cook, so I'm going to get a quick meal. Let me run and get this new product that will help to streamline my life, hopefully help to streamline my life. And then other forms of emotional relief. So when this social worker reconnects with her value of health and her purpose of being present for her children, all of those behaviors start to shift because she has gained a sense of clarity. So thinking of purpose as giving us a stronger foundation to help guide several of our money decisions. Part 1 of this series included a discussion around money compass. And this is a slide that I pulled from that webinar just to kind of trigger your memory about our discussion about the money compass. Part of that discussion really helped or encouraged us to define what our financial North Star was. And whenever we think of a North Star, it is this point in the sky that helps to guide us. If we look at it and we walk towards it, we know which direction that we're going in. So for the money compass, our North Star was our values. Okay? Those non-negotiables, those things that help us to make decisions. Our values were standing as our North Star. And now this session, Financially Prepared on Purpose, is about taking that North Star from our compass and transitioning from like direction and orientation to action and integration. So really making it real in your life. Taking those values and then living them out on a daily basis. You have your decisions, you have your ideas in place, and now you're designing systems that will help to support you in living out and maintaining the decisions that you make. And with the Money Compass, you're building this plan that's in place. And now your goal is to step into a financial identity that actually supports that plan and the overall purpose. So with the Money Compass, the thought was, well, here is where I want to go. And now with Financially Prepared on Purpose, the thought is, here is how I will walk each step intentionally. Here are the actions that I will take to put my financial identity into action. Okay. Just to give us another example around that, this focuses on a client who has this strong value in regards to community, but is overextending themselves financially in relation to supporting others or donating. Certainly donating and supporting others is important, and it's something that is beautiful. But this person is finding themselves actually financially harmed because of that overextension, right? So now they're working on putting a design in place where they're still able to give, but transition from overgiving to giving that's aligning with their values, and putting those boundaries in place that's going to protect their personal financial stability and still allow this space to be able to give, because community is a value as well. And in reflecting on that, that person really needs to consider their financial identity, which this is something that I'm extending to all of us in this virtual space today and everyone who's watching the replay of this. I tend to think of financial identity as this behind the scenes operating system. Just like all of our tech devices have this operating system that many of us have never seen. We would not know how to manage it, but we know how to type, we know how to scroll, but behind the scenes, all of these other things are happening, right? To give us these outcomes and output that we're hoping for. So thinking of financial identity in the same way, is this behind the scenes operating system behind our financial behaviors. And this operating system, it includes our values, it includes our emotional patterns and beliefs around money, our cultural and our family narratives that we have gained over time, our survival strategies, and even more. So just when you think of your financial identity, think about all of these things that it tends to consist of. And here's just a brief case study, again, to help capture that. A man was raised to believe that real providers don't ask for help. However, his identity was blocking his purpose of building intergenerational stability. So he had to transition that perception of his identity to include seeking knowledge and strengthening foundations. Those are forms of gaining help. So after he was able to shift his behaviors, he was able to start building that intergenerational help. There are just 2 questions on this slide for you to consider and process in your time. How does financial identity shape decision-making under stress? And which identities do clients bring into financial conversations? So something to really give attention to. And that brings us to our second poll question for today, about which component of financial identity most influences your decision right now. So really taking some time to navigate this particular poll. Is it your personal values, your emotional patterns, behavioral routines, social cultural expectations, past financial finances. What would you say it is for you? Okay, about 2 more seconds. Great. And we'll go ahead and close our poll. I'm seeing that it looks like personal values and some of those past financial experiences, they seem to have some very similar results in there as well. Good job. Thank you, everyone. Again, that helps to bring forth our own self-awareness about what is influencing our patterns and our behaviors. Okay. So now I'm just going to take a next 1 to 2 minutes just to introduce to you to this Let's Get in Alignment financial model. I wanted to come up with a title that would really stand out for everyone and hopefully be memorable. So let's get in alignment. And alignment means building financial alignment across 4 key areas in your life. That internal alignment, that's your values, your beliefs, your emotions. Your behavioral alignment when it comes to finances, building those routines, those habits, and those patterns around finances that are in alignment with your values, identity, and beliefs. And then there's the structural alignment. What are some of those tools or systems to support you in putting those values into action? Examples of those could be budgets, different apps, things such as that. Those would be considered tools. And then your social or relational alignment, just being aware that we don't manage our finances in a bubble or in isolation. There are systems around us to help support us. And I will say that one of those great systems we have is the Center for Financial Social Work that helps to support us through accountability, through webinars, through different types of professional communities to help us be in relational alignment. Okay. And then just highlighting some other steps to work towards putting this Let's Get into Alignment financial model into action. It is about turning our daily values into daily practice, right? We love the idea of values. We talk about values, but how often do we translate those into our behaviors? So here are just 3, I would call them behavioral tools that we could use. Creating your action intentions. And this reflects on last month's webinar about creating some of those pre-made decisions. What scenarios might come up in your life that you want to have an answer for ahead of time? If X happens, I will respond with Y. And that can help to reduce our stress when we're thinking about some of these things ahead of time. Develop your commitment mind, okay? So this is about ensuring that your habits, your practices are in alignment with your values, okay? Oftentimes people say it takes 30 days to form a habit, but it differs for everybody. And are our habits intentional? Are our habits, which are some of our automatic behaviors, are they truly expressing our values, or are they contradicting our values? And then also building our identity language. So kind of shifting from, well, you know what, I want to be someone who fill in the blank. Instead saying, I am someone who fill in the blank. So you want to start building this into your self-concept, your perception of self. Okay. And then simply when I think of wealth, I think of it as more than money. And what I have here on this screen are the various ways that you can view wealth. I tend to view it from a holistic perspective. There may be material stability, but also time freedom, right? Your ability to control your time, your relational health, meaning your boundaries, your support systems, and your interdependence. So all of these are an expression of our values and keeping in mind how you will choose to kind of put these into action so they can be a part of your financial identity. Okay. And then just as we begin to close out, just thinking again from our part one that the money compass was about finding direction, becoming a little stabilized, how to stay steady during periods of uncertainty. And then part two kind of went into how do I build a life aligned with my highest values, right? And identity. And that's what that Let's Get in Alignment model is all about, helping us to gain clarity, become emotionally grounded, and have purpose and moving towards our direction. So as you think of implementing this with your clients, give thought to how you can work with your clients of connecting financial decisions with identity. And are they making certain decisions based on emotional safety? Like we've learned through the Center for Financial Social Work, how to kind of rewrite some of our limiting financial stories. Will a community setting or supports be able to help our clients as well? So these are some of the ways you could take certain concepts from these webinars and apply them to practice. And these are just a few closing questions, again, that you'll be able to process in your personal space and time. Thinking about what value is underexpressed in your current financial life. What aligned action would transform your stress response? And what opportunities have you been under noticing because you've been focused on stability alone? And just some closing thoughts from Professor Purpose. Purpose is more than planning. It is identity. It is alignment. It is part of the foundation for the future that you are creating. And just a moment to say thank you, everyone. Again, this webinar was rooted in certain ideas that I pulled from Prepared on Purpose. And overall, I thank you for your time again. And I invite Rita back to join me. Rita, you might be muted if you're muted.
I was muted, thank you.
Okay.
Did you pass it back to me?
Okay, here it comes. Okay, it should be back in your hands now.
Okay, I just tested. No. Okay, just about ready.
Okay.
Present. Okay. Show my screen. Veronica, that was wonderful. And I'm sure everyone that's with us would agree. And now I have a few things to share with our audience. Until Monday, we will be offering a 15% discount with that code 202602 on everything on our website. So that's worth noting. This is what the financial social work certification looks like. The workbooks are beautiful, they're colorful, they're interactive, and we have thousands of graduates across the country and around the world practicing financial social work on the micro, meso, and macro levels. We also have video programs that have been amazingly, beautifully accepted, enjoyed. Those who have taken these wonderful courses are finding they have tools and skills that they didn't before. We have these other products that could be helpful to your organization. or to your practice. You can find them all on the Financial Social Work website. And your certification includes the FSWcollaborative.com. It's the free support component of financial social work, and no one has anything like that. And they do education, networking, resources, and support. It's quite valuable. We wrote an ebook last year, a social work guide for circumventing political and economic uncertainty. That is on our website. And our textbook was launched, I think, last May. So we're excited that future students will be learning about financial social work. And that textbook is available on our, well, you can find it on our website, but you can purchase it on Amazon.com. Next month's webinar, Why Money is Never Neutral, a Gender Responsive Approach. I will actually be giving that one. And the month after is Trauma Informed Financial Social Work, an integrative practice approach. You can join us for those. And we do have some time for Q&A. Linda, do we have questions?
I was muted. We have questions and we have comments as well. Many thank yous to both Dr. Hardy and Professor Purpose. And first, a comment. Can somebody check? There's a comment in the question box that there are two same documents in the handouts.
Okay, so I can respond to that. It looks like just the handout was posted twice, maybe, but it is just one handout. So at the beginning of the handout, it should have this list of values. And then as you continue through the handout, you'll see kind of worksheet to use with your clients. So we kind of built it into one document.
You have done that when I was putting it into the platform. I may have entered it twice.
Okay, so that helps with the question that we had on the handout. Beautiful. Dr. Hardy, a question just for you.
Okay.
Could you share with us, please, what are some of the things you're doing to bring your finances in alignment with your values?
Okay, great. So I know one thing that I noticed about myself, I'm one of those givers. And at times I may give to the point of overextending my finances. And I realized that maybe last year. So now I'm working on how do I continue giving, but do it in a way that's still respectful and honorable, but doesn't create challenges for me. So both types of values of mine can be met. So I'm working to adjust my giving habits while also working to promote my own financial stability and thinking forward to the future me. Eventually I'll be retiring, so I have to make sure that the future me is going to be set up okay as well. So I think that's something that I'm working on right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Lots of thank yous. Maybe this is pertinent to everybody. Someone has purchased the certification and they have all their downloads, but they're wondering if there's a way to receive a hard copy of the books in the certification course.
5 workbooks in the certification course. The certification course is downloadable. There is no hard copy.
Okay, many thank yous, and that takes care of our questions.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Dr. Hardy, thank you. And it was wonderful, and thank you. And we hope to see you back here next month, everyone. Have a beautiful rest of the day. Bye now.